Tonight, we're going to have the opportunity to listen and be a part of some amazing conversations. I once read a book that said the conversation is the relationship. And as I thought about the reality of how these conversations have the opportunity to impact my life, it caused me to think even more about how we navigate conversations and ones that are oftentimes difficult to have. Some time ago, I was involved in a conversation, you might call it a crucial conversation, and I came to that conversation with the sole focus of wanting to be understood. And that's what we oftentimes most do. We want to be understood in our conversations. And as I was sharing, I realized midpoint through that conversation that I actually wasn't hearing the words that were being spoken to me, because all I was looking for in that person's responses was to hear if they actually understood what I was saying. And when I got down to the bottom of what am I looking for in this conversation? Am I hoping that we will become a bridge? Am I hoping that there will be some restoration or healing or resolution? Well, I thought that I was, and I knew that I was, but my whole approach was wrong, because the way we approach conversations very much is indicative of our views, our opinions, our religious beliefs. Everything in our past shows up in our present moment. So before you even open your mouth, just think about it. You're at the place of an impasse because two people have very different past. And if I wanted to get around this reality that we had two different pasts, but we're dealing with a very present phenomenon, I had to allow myself not just to listen to the person on the other end for the sake of being understood, but to understand what they were saying and understanding how they were saying based upon their life experiences, based upon their pain, their brokenness, their culture, their religious belief. All of that impacts how they process information and also how they communicated it. And so when I de-weaponized the words that I was hearing, which was causing a bit of a rise within me, I started to understand for a moment that, Ebony, perhaps the way you're hearing this is being filtered through the lens of your experience and not theirs. In order for us to seek to understand versus seeking to only be understood, we have to recognize that our desire to be understood has to be sacrificed for the sake of understanding. And in order to sacrifice our desire to be understood for the sake of understanding, we have to intentionally show up to conversations believing that I am going to learn something different because the person that is in front of me is different. Tonight, you're going to be challenged to not just seek to be understood by the various voices that you will hear, but I ask you to actually seek to understand the person on the other end. Don't listen for the cue words or the signal words of what seems right to you, but listen to the truth of their experience. Because what's indicative in all of this is that you have a truth and I have a truth, but somewhere in that truth is the truth. And Jesus allows us to get to the center where there is the truth. And in the truth, there is the merging of two opinions. There is the come, let us reason together. There is this understanding that in order for me to get to the other side, I have to be willing to understand and see something from a different point of view. So the choice is ultimately yours, because yes, the conversation is indeed the relationship. You can either lead with wanting to be understood, or you can posture yourself with wanting to understand. And if you're opting tonight to posture yourself with wanting to understand, you will accept the fact that everything that you see and hear may not be factual. And everything that your mama or your grandmother or your father or your best friend taught you could just be wrong. That in the very presence of any conversation, your past will show up. But it's up to you to sacrifice that past for the sake of the future. Our world demands that we do that. Our faith in Jesus demands that we sacrifice. And Jesus modeled the sacrifice of understanding in the very eminence of himself. And when you think about the reality that Christ nailed to the cross every misconception, every form of doubt, every false belief, and even disunity, you understand that the cross that you're choosing to pick up and carry tonight is the very same cross that sacrifices within you everything that would cause there to be disunity and difference. So again, the moral of the story here tonight, as you listen to everything, is to seek to understand versus only desiring to be understood.